Tonight we'll talk about his basketball journey, player development, his transfer to Blackman, recruiting, NIL, his goals, Mr. Tennessee basketball, and much more. Miles, welcome to the Pure Prospects podcast.
Going on.
How are things going, man?
Been going real good. AU, um, back to the grind already.
How's the summer been, man? You just wrapped up your the 3SSB in Rock Hill.
Nah, it was real good. Had a strong showing in California in the first session for 3SSB. Went over to Indiana, had a strong session over there. We finished record wise, top 10 in the circuit. Ended up losing first round to Dream Vision, but it was a hard fought game. Honestly, I think it went really well.
For people that may not know much about you, tell us a little bit about yourself off the basketball court.
Um, you know, I'm a big family guy. Love showing up and supporting my siblings. I've got three other siblings. My sister just recently committed to play college ball at King University, which is Division II. But I've been along her journey. Love supporting her. My brother just got back from his AAU tournament. But yeah, man, I just love showing up for them. Love just connecting with everybody. I'm a big community guy. But yeah, man, I've got everybody that I just pour into. It's awesome.
What are some hobbies or interests outside of basketball that you enjoy?
I like honestly, especially with how much work I put in. It's hard to enjoy other hobbies outside of the sport. But I like working out. I like listening to music. I like going and playing pickleball with my friends. Honestly, but yeah, man, it's other than that, it's strictly business.
Who introduced you to ball, man?
Um, honestly, I think my dad was probably the biggest one. We've been going to the gym a lot, since I was a baby. So I feel like he's been the main contributor, and obviously, mom's tagged along. She's one of my biggest supporters. I'm so thankful.
So, who introduced you to the game? Your dad?
Yeah, yes, sir.
So who are some other your biggest basketball influences growing up?
Growing up, I've always been a Michael Jordan fan. That's been a big one guy. I've always thought was the goat. Um, just watching his documentaries, watching highlight reels. I'm just like, man, this guy can go, and it really inspired me to get into the sport, play the sport. Um, I really love watching ball, watching games. Just being a little kid, watching, showing up to the high school games. But I feel like Michael Jordan has definitely been a big influence.
Are there some NBA or college guys you enjoy watching now?
Oh yeah, for sure. In the NBA, you got Steph Curry. I'm a big Steph Curry glazer. I'm not gonna lie, but I love just the way how he moves off ball, how he can spray it. Jalen Brunson has been a big guy for me too, especially being a small guard, being able to play off of two. Jamal Murray, love watching him. I'm a UT fan. I've always loved UT, but watching my guys, Kai Ziegler down there, little scrappy guard, modeling my defense after him has definitely been, a big inspiration.
Are there any parts of their game that kind of influence yours?
Oh yeah, for sure. Like I said, just the ability to play off of 2 feet, like Jalen Brunson, Peyton Pritchard was a big one. Like I said, getting in the paint, playing off of two, so definitely, how I want to model my game after. And, just being a pest on defense like Zakai Ziegler, I feel like a lot of other small, scrappy guards like that have been a big model for my game.
So let's talk about your basketball journey. Looking back, like what has your journey been like?
Man, I've started playing basketball like 3K. That's been oof, honestly, just the biggest blessing I've had. Started in pre-K, worked up playing junior pro. I think I started playing AAU in fourth grade. Um, Progressively it's gotten more and more competitive. Being on the UA Rise circuit in like seventh, eighth grade, and then moving up to the 3SSB circuit as soon as I got into high school. I've been around a lot of good basketball, a lot of great coaches. Yeah, man, it's been huge to my development.
What kind of sacrifices have you and your family made throughout your journey?
Man, so many sacrifices that my parents have made. Countless hours in the gym. Countless time, money. Spent on these long AAU trips. I'm so blessed, so thankful to have them in my corner, because at the end of the day, they make things go. They make things work, and so honestly, it all goes to them for sure.
When did you start believing that D1 basketball was realistic for you?
That one goal has always been a part of me since I was little. I've always told everybody, yeah, I'm going to D1. I'm playing in college. So I feel like that's always been up there for me, especially motivating me to play basketball. Like I'm gonna prove everybody right. I'm gonna go and I'm gonna produce and I'm gonna go play at that level.
What's been your biggest obstacle so far that you faced in your journey?
Um, I say, being a small guard, having that expectation, like, oh, he's a small guard, he can't make things work, or, you know, just going in there and playing with the trees and being able to adjust. How can I get my shot off? How can I get past a defender? Just model, like, trying to tweak my game in every single way. I feel like that's definitely been the biggest thing.
I think the small guard is coming back with Beckham Black and Caden Daughtry. Man, they're 6 foot guys. So I think the small guard's coming back. So that's kind of going good for you. So what has shaped you into the player you are today?
Um, Honestly, I've been raised in a household where, you know, I know that things are given. You have to go out there and work, and work to earn everything. So, going into things with that mindset, like I'm gonna go in here and I'm gonna work my tail off, to get what I need, to get what I, can to produce, right? And so I feel like going into situations where I'm kind of having to prove something, having to work. Like I said, going back to that small guard, a lot of people are just underestimating you just because your size, your height. But I feel like going into every situation, wanting to take something has been a big thing for me.
Let's look at your sophomore season. Nearly 20 points per game, almost 6 assists, more than 2 steals, first team All State. When you look back at your sophomore season, what are you most proud of?
Man, I'm really proud of how our team responded to adversity. We had a lot of ups and downs that season. We started off the season hot, went 10-0, I think, and then we kind of lost a couple games, but our ability to bounce back and come together was a really I was really proud of that.
What allowed everything to come together for you?
I feel like everyone knew that what we were doing wasn't working. You know what I'm saying? So, we kind of all came together and said, like, guys, like, we got to lock in. We got to get this done. We didn't get the outcome we wanted that season, but I was still super proud of the guys and how we responded to even get to that point.
How much did your confidence grow?
My confidence grew a ton, especially freshman to sophomore year. We had a couple seniors graduate, which lengthened my rope, I would say. Being able to obviously shoot more shots, and with that comes scoring more points, but just obviously growing my confidence, being on the court with guys that I trust. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like that grew my confidence a ton.
You also protected the basketball very well. How important is decision making at your position?
I feel like in today's game, it's everything. Everything. As a point guard, you have to be able to handle the rock. Put people where they need to be. Direct, orchestrate. Yeah, man, it's everything.
How much pride do you take in helping your teammates get better?
Man, that's one of my big things. I want to surround myself with people who want it, with people who want to get better. I'm always in the gym. I'm always bringing guys along. Hey, let's go get shots up. Let's go, because I feel like that's like the biggest way for us to bond and connect and grow together is working out and just getting better together.
Would you describe yourself as a scoring guard or a floor general?
I feel like I'm more of but I feel like I've got to be everything. You know what I'm saying? At the level I want to play at. What I feel like making the right decision is huge. Whether that's making the right play, going and getting a bucket, going and putting somebody in the right spot, making the right play, kicking it out, drawing and kicking that extra defender and kicking it out to my shooter. I feel like being everything is super important. So I really can't say that I'm more of a scoring guard. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like I kind of have to be an everything type of guard.
So, 1,145 career points. Through only, 2 seasons, you've scored over 1,100 points. Did you ever imagine that you'd reach that milestone so quickly?
Um, I've got to be honest. Being in 1,000 point club has always been an expectation that I've had. It's kind of expected. Um, my main goal is to win at whatever cost. So I feel like making it to state, winning state tournament games. If I strive for something greater, that 1,000 points is going to come along the way. It's like a byproduct.
What has allowed you to score so consistently?
Um, I'm a big rep guy. Getting in the gym on my own time. Just repping it out, going game speed. That's important. Reps, tons of reps.
Is the 2,000 point mark something you've been thinking about or thought about?
Absolutely, absolutely. But like I said, back to my point, it's kind of along that road of winning. You know what I'm saying? So I expect it to come if I do all the right things and you know and I progress as I should. Um, but I'm not really worried about scoring 2,000 points. Honestly, it's gonna come whether we're winning. That's my big thing. If we're winning and we're getting better together as a team, then I feel like that's gonna come.
What other individual accomplishments still motivate you?
Um, my big thing is going my school paid for is my big motivation. I feel like that's everyone's big motivation in this sport who's taking it seriously. Um, the end goal is to go play D1 basketball and have your school paid for. So I feel like the one thing that's driving my motivation.
So, one of the biggest, I guess, stories this offseason was your decision to transfer to Blackman. Walk us through that decision. What made Blackman the right place for you?
Blackman has had a rich history in success. Multiple coaches that have coached. You know, tons of coaching experience. Have coached at the Division 1 level. So I mean, I just felt like, and Coach Wortman, he is a point guard coach. He develops point guards, and I just feel like it was only right that I made that decision.
How difficult was it leaving Canyon County?
Well, of course it was going to be different. I've grown up here in life, but with the countless support that I've had, tons of prayer, tons of time, but it was hard, but I'm glad that I had the right people in my corner to support my decision.
Have your new teammates welcomed you?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. We're all there for the same goal of winning. We're there to get better every single day, and so I kind of, we just meshed real quickly. They've brought me in open arms,
What excites you the most about this opportunity?
and honestly, the platform that we're playing. Um, like I said, Blackman's has had a rich history of success, and so I'm there to win regardless. Having that Division 1 level coach, having coaches, that are there, contributing. It, I'm excited to see where how my game is going to develop.
How much better do you think this move can make you?
I think it'll make me a tremendous. I think it'll make a tremendous jump in my game because coach knows I can go out there and I can score and I can play defense. But his big thing is how can I impact the game? How can I impact winning on the little things, like sprinting back, stopping the ball, rebounding down, playing off ball defense, being in the right positions. I feel like those little things are going to carry my game to even higher levels.
Blackman has one of Tennessee's premier basketball programs. What are your expectations this season?
My expectations are, you know, well, my thing is, we graduated 8 seniors last year. So a lot of people are counting us out, really saying, this is their down year. They're not really gonna, show up. But, everyone's expectation is to make it to state, make it to the state tournament, and compete and just win. That's everyone's expectation,
How is important is winning a go ball?
dude. I think that's the end goal for a high school program. 4A is loaded with talent, loaded with talent. We got Bartlett, we got Brentwood coming up. But yeah, man, tons of teams that are just loaded with talent. But to win a gold ball at the 4A level, it's one of the best things that a high school team can accomplish.
How do you see yourself fitting into the team?
Um, I see myself fitting into the team really well. Like I said, our coach is a point guard coach. He's known for developing high level point guards. So that expectation, like, how can I get better as a player? And I feel like playing under Coach Wortman and the staff is my thing is I know this is gonna progress my game, and I know this is gonna this is just the right fit.
What kind of leader do you want to become?
Um, I want to become a leader that's gonna with him, you know, lead by example. The big thing. If other people see me, working, putting in the hours, putting in the time, it's only right. Like it's only like they're gonna come along with me. You know what I'm saying? And I have a lot of rope, if that makes sense. So I can't just go out there and show up and work out one day a week, and not be around the guys, not any of that, no team bonding, and expect them to listen to me. So I feel like a big thing is going in there and putting work in behind the scenes, so they'll listen.
So you're playing at one of the biggest programs in Tennessee. You've already earned first team All State. You're ranked number 7 in Tennessee in the class of 2028. Is winning Tennessee Mr. Basketball something you've thought about already?
For sure. Uh, that's been something that's been on my mind a lot. Selfishly, I'm not really here to, go and, in games saying, I got to get mine. I got to go and win Mr. Basketball. No, like my thing is, Mr. Basketball, if I do the right things behind the scenes, my work will show. My work will end up, eventually, leading to that award. So I feel like if I stay consistent and stay humble, stay committed to the grind, that'll fall into place.
So what would that award mean to you?
Um, the award will mean like the award will give me, like some clarification, if that makes sense. Like knowing that okay, is my work is for a good reason. You know what I'm saying? My work is leading to something that is huge. So Mr. Basketball is a super prestigious award in the state of Tennessee and in every state. But I feel like if that happens, you know, not only is that a sense of clarification, but it's also crap. Like I got to work harder too. You know what I'm saying? So Tennessee basketball, Mr. Basketball, that's definitely a huge award.
Would you rather win that award or the state championship?
State championship all day, all day.
How much motivation does that goal give you every day?
Like I said, that's the end goal. So if we're every practice, every workout, striving to win a gold ball, I feel like that's the end goal. That's why everybody's there. That's going to motivate everybody. Hey guys, like we're slacking. Is this going to prepare us to get to that gold ball? And I think everybody's already bought in. So I mean, it's a huge motivator
Do you believe you're one of the very best players in Tennessee, regardless of class?
for sure, for sure. And I feel like over these past couple years, my work has shown. Um, I can confidently say that I feel like I'm one of the best players in the state of Tennessee.
Where do you still want to improve before entering that conversation like more seriously?
Which conversation? Like, what do you mean?
Like Mr. Basketball, like where would you still want to improve?
I can. I clear up my more as far as limiting turnover. Um, you know, I feel like that's a big thing. My team relies on me pretty heavily, and so if I can become efficient and get to that 50%, 55%, where my field goals are dropped, I feel like that's gonna progress me, and playing defense too. Learning how to take a defensive rebound, and we're scoring the ball in under 5 seconds on the other end. Pushing in transition. I feel like that's a big thing.
Tennessee rankings. Prep Hoops Tennessee currently ranks you at number 7 in the 2028 class. What did that recognition mean to you?
It was well. I really took it as a sign of respect. I was really really thankful for it. I still I know there's a lot of more work to be done. Um, but yeah, man, that meant a lot.
Do rankings
Say that.
do rankings motivate you?
That's one thing that I've learned how to tone out, especially with the rankings. Rankings, to a certain extent mean something, but on the path that I'm at, I'm looking to contribute when I get into college. At the end of the day, whether that means I'm ranked, whether that means I'm not, I'm looking to make an impact in winning. Um, and so if I'm not on the ranking board, I mean, yeah, I might take that personal, but at the end of the day, I know I've got to, stay consistent, grind every single day.
What do you believe separates you from the other top players in Tennessee?
I would say my leadership and my work ethic for sure. There's some always on the table to prove for sure, and definitely being overlooked a lot. It's a motivator for sure.
So what do you think your ceiling is?
I see myself. I see myself playing at the level. I made Division 1 level and potentially pro.
Is becoming the number one player in Tennessee a goal of yours?
Um, Yes, I would say so. But that comes with all the work behind the scenes. I'm not gonna go out there and say, yeah, I'm gonna be the number one player. That's obviously a goal I feel like a lot of people should have, but you know, rankings, like I said, that'll take care of itself if the work behind the scenes is up to par.
So let's talk about TN Impact and the 3SSB. Man, you had another great summer with TN Impact or Tennessee Impact. What has this AAU season meant to you?
It's been a lot, especially coming from freshman year to sophomore year. A lot more coaches are having eyes on you. That dead period, or that one period in July or in June, like June 15th or 14th, was finally when coaches could start reaching out. So you're going into every session on a mission. I'm trying to get an offer. I'm trying to go and produce and make the right play so coaches can see me. It's meant everything.
Your team, you guys have been like one of the most successful teams on the circuit. Why has your group been so successful?
A lot of guys are there for the same reason. We all want to win. We've had a great coach that's bought into us, and our assistant coach too. The whole program overall, it's just about winning. And at the with that comes success if we're all bought in.
How does playing against national competition improve your game?
Dude, it's improved my game so much. Especially coming from high school ball to the national level. You're playing against the top kids in every single state. So, you're not going up and playing against bums. You're not going and doing that. So, you know, like I said, like every game you're going out there on a mission. If I can produce against top 50, top 100 players in the nation, that's going to translate to producing in college.
What have college coaches told you this summer?
A lot of college coaches have reached out. You know, lock me in, stay in touch. Just having great conversations behind the scenes. Talking about our program, talking about how they see me fitting in their program. It's been huge.
How much confidence has this summer given you?
It's given me a lot. It's given me a lot of confidence, especially coming off of last season. 15U. my mindset kind of changed into this year. You know, how can I produce has been a big thing. And so if I go out there and I produce and I do my job, everything else is gonna come. Like the coaches, like if they see me making the right play, if they see me doing the right thing, being a great teammate, you know, they're hitting me up.
Shooting, man, you're shooting 44% from three, 92% from the line. Those are elite numbers. How
They're,
much work goes into becoming that efficient?
man, countless hours in the gym, countless. Um, Having a great rebounder and my dad, honestly, and my mom too. Just being in the gym, game reps, fast speed, getting up shots every single day. That's led to that percentage.
Walk us through your shooting routine. How many shots are you getting up every day?
I'm getting up at least 300 a day. Whether that's going in the morning and then going back later in the afternoon, or going in there and just form shooting and getting up shots in one session. But man, tons of shots, tons of shots.
What do you focus most on mechanically?
The speed of my shot. Um, that's a big thing. Like you said, playing on the circuit, you're playing against the top guys. You're not just going to be able to take your time, slow, get it up. It's got to be quick. It's got to be at a fast speed, at a high. It's got to be at a high level too. So, that's definitely one thing I've been focusing on. How can I get my shot off quicker? How can I improve, my arc and everything?
Do you enjoy shooting under pressure?
Absolutely, absolutely. All that work is translated to that moment. Why wouldn't you?
Do you expect every shot to go in?
Man, like I yeah, I mean for sure. I'm shooting it. I'm not really thinking about anything except for that ball going in.
Player development. What area of your game has improved the most over the last year?
I would say, my mindset and just my physical ability. I've been in a weight room a lot. And with that comes confidence. Just going out there and being like, okay, I can go out there and get a bucket. I can go and handle pressure if someone's up on me. Being able to bump someone off, kind of gives you a sort of confidence.
What's still your biggest focus?
My biggest focus is, harping on the little things. How can I become a better off-ball defender? How can I become a better on-ball defender? How can I jump past lanes? How can I rebound down? Just the little things in my game has been a big focus for me.
How important is strength training for you?
Dude, it's huge. It's huge. These past couple years, I've really been big in it. Um, being an undersized guard, you got to be able to make up for that in other aspects of your game. Um, you know, like I said, being able to bump someone off, being able to get through a screen, finish through the defender, it translates huge.
So who do you train with?
I've got a couple guys. I have a trainer up here in Murfreesboro, Coach Shipley. I've been training with him forever. He's really taught me a lot of the fundamentals and the little things of basketball. I have a guy out of Kentucky, Greg Keown. He's big. I've been training with him recently. He knows his stuff. Just I've got tons of people in my corner that are always upping my game, developing my game.
What's a normal day of workouts look like for you?
Man, dude, I've been big this off season and previous off seasons in 3 days. 3 days meaning I'm going and running. I'm getting my cardio in. I'm getting my lift in, and then I'm going back to the gym and I'm getting up shots and I'm working on my game.
What do you think you'll improve the most over the next year?
I think I can improve a lot on my conditioning. Becoming in elite shape. You know, Gaining weight, putting on muscle. And then yeah, I feel like that's my big thing that I feel like is definitely going to take a jump if I stay consistent.
So let's talk a little bit about your recruitment. You've already earned offers from EKU, Moorhead, Tennessee State, Alcorn State, and SEMO.
Sure.
What was it receiving that first D1 offer like?
And it was awesome. It was super exciting. But at the same time, it was like, I it was kind of stressful. Like it's kind of like you have a target on your back now that you have this Division 1 offer. You need to be able to produce and play up to this standard, you know. And so I feel like with that comes more work, more work at the end of the day. But it's a huge blessing.
Which coaches have built the strongest relationships with you?
Um, a lot of guys, I have my offers from the schools that you've listed, but a big one, like a lot of big ones, I've had Air Force, App State, Austin P, Cal State Fullerton, MTSU, South Alabama, Lipscomb, Tennessee Tech, Jacksonville, Murray State. These are all coaches that have. Oh, and I said Belmont already, but these have all coaches like that have texted me, have called me, have reached out. Um, yeah, man, it's super exciting.
For those that don't know, do you get more text than emails, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So I think you answered this question. Who's been reaching out like lately or recently?
Recently coming off this, live period, Bellarmine was down there. Northern Illinois, Belmont, MTSU, Murray State was down there. A lot of those schools I listed, App State, they were down there. They've all contacted me recently, and we've set something up behind the scenes for a call or something.
Are there any schools you're hoping to visit?
Oh yeah, for sure. We've had a couple on the schedule. Austin P has been one of them. We're trying to get visits to my schools that I've offered from Alcorn, EKU, Moorhead, SEMO, TSU. We're in the works with that for sure. My guy Lance at Luma Sports Group, that's the man behind the scenes. He gets it done, dude. I don't know where I would be if my guy wasn't, working.
How has Blackman helped your recruitment already?
Dude, it's huge. My coach is coach at the Division One level, so he has tons of connections. I've just been walking by his office and hearing him, on the phone with Tennessee Tech or a Murray State. So I mean, I feel like this move that I've made is definitely going to help my recruiting out a lot.
How has Tennessee Impact helped your exposure?
Oh, dude, it's you're playing on one of the top levels in the whole nation. So I mean, all of these coaches are there. All of these coaches are there watching you. Scouting. It's you're in the right position. At the end of the day, it's coming down to, you know, games. Can you produce?
Finding the right college, finding the right fit. When it's time to commit, what kind of basketball program are you looking for?
Man, I'm looking for a basketball program that's gonna develop, that's gonna want it, want to win. I'm looking to contribute, whether that's, you know, just not necessarily scoring the ball, because I know like if I go to college, it's gonna be hard to go to college and be that main guy, be that main scorer. You know what I'm saying? So I'm going into these colleges and I'm like, how can I produce? How can I sit down and play defense? Can I go and guard my position? Can I hit open shots? These are the things that I'm looking for in a college program. How can I fit in? What's the right fit? And am I going to play?
Describe your ideal college experience.
My ideal, college experience. I'm looking for something, with a great atmosphere. People who are bought in. That love the college. I'm looking for something that's gonna produce and gonna develop me into something, greater.
What kind of culture do you want?
I've always been a worker. You know what I'm saying? So I want a culture that's hard nosed. That's gonna, keep it to you straight. Like this is how it needs to be done, and like I said, just working hard every single day.
What kind of teammates do you want around you?
Same thing, same thing, man. Teammates that are bought in for sure. That aren't gonna slack on days that they just think it's hard. Like obviously you're gonna have those days where oh, I don't want to do this, but man, that's just I feel like if I have teammates that are picking me up and I can pick them up, people that are wanting to win.
What type of offensive system fits your game?
Um, honestly, a system where I can come off of ball screens, or where there's a lot of movement. I feel like being that back door, or coming off a down screen. Just a lot of offenses where I can get to the paint, play off a two, get a paint touch, kick out, just make the right reads.
How important is play?
Say that again.
How important is player development?
Player development's huge, huge for sure. Because I'll like obviously, you know, there's work to be done every single day. You know, you're never gonna be that 100% player. So you know, if I can find a school that's gonna develop and has elite developers, I mean, that's gonna be high on my list.
How important is playing time?
Playing time's huge. I feel like in this stage of my career, you know, if I can go somewhere where I can play and produce and impact winning, you know, getting some film out, whether that's you know getting film out and then transferring later, or you know just staying down and staying committed to that one program. But you know, being able to play, I feel like is every athlete's goal. Like if you're not going in there expecting to play, then you know I feel like, or potentially playing or working to play, then you know I feel like you know you got to go find somewhere else.
Would you rather immediately play or develop behind experienced players if it's the right fit?
You know, that's a great question. Honestly, you know, it depends. It depends. Like if I know that there's elite guys in that system that I can get behind and learn from, and you know, develop my game behind the scenes, you know, I'm down for that. I'm down for that route. But you know, at the same time, if there is an opportunity where I can come in and I can get developed and then get playing time like immediately, you know, that's something that's always high on my board.
What qualities do you want in a head coach?
Um, a head coach that's transparent. You know, that's you know kind of hard nosed. I like a good you know coach that's gonna kind of give you tough love. You know, I'm a big guy. Like I love being coached. You know, that might be a crazy thing to say, but you know, if you're hard on me, if you're gonna coach me, you know, I know that's love and that you care for me. You know, you want to see me succeed. So I feel like that's a big thing.
How important is trust between a player and a coach?
Oh, it's huge. It's having that trust between you and you know coach, especially being a point guard. You know, you've got to be the coach on the court. You know, you're gonna see things that coach isn't gonna see, and having that relationship with your coach. You know, going behind the scenes. Hey, coach, this is what I saw. This is what we need to work on. You know, just having that relationship is huge. Huge part of basketball.
What's ultimately going to separate one school from another?
Um, I mean, honestly, the connection that we've built, connections. You know, do I trust you? You know, is that trust like do you trust me? And like you said, you know, going in there and being able to you know contribute to winning, you know, playing time. That's a big thing for me.
NIL. College ball has changed dramatically with NIL. Recently Tennessee announced its new NIL and revenue sharing model. As a recruit, how closely do you follow these developments? I know you just got a new deal, so
You know, that's definitely been something that you know we've looked into for sure. You know, I've just got with this NIL grappler socks. Dude, it's legit. It's a business, man. But it's for the right cause. You know what I'm saying? So like you're promoting athletes, but at the same time promoting a brand, and so you know it's a win win.
how important will NIL be when choosing a school?
Um, you know I'm not a big guy like you know, but it's important. You know now with a lot of college athletes, you know I'm there to play regardless, but you know NIL has definitely made a huge impact in the game and you know where it stands today. So I would say like I feel like it's a determinator for sure.
Do you look at NIL as like a bonus rather than a deciding factor?
Yeah, I think of it. Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. Like you know, I already get to go and play basketball, right? So that's a huge blessing, right? But and then on top of that, getting paid to play the sport I love, like it's just a huge blessing. I think it's a bonus, yeah, for sure.
Do you think like some younger players focus too much on NIL now?
Um, you know, a lot of players can be persuaded for that. Um, but you know, I feel like the right guys are in it for the right reason.
How do you stay grounded while navigating today's recruiting landscape?
Um, I can just stay grounded by always relying back on you know the people in my corner and you know always having people there to humble me and always having you know my parents there to you know set it straight and keep it a buck with me. You know, and just being able to know that all right, you know, there's still work to do. You know, that's a big, you know, staying humble is huge.
So I want to talk to you about the transfer portal. It's completely changed recruiting. I've been doing it 15 years. The last few years with the transfer portal, NIL, like it's completely flipped recruiting. How has that affected your mindset as a high school prospect recruit?
Especially with the transfer portal, um, man, being able to get in front of these coaches early is huge. Because that transfer portal, they're pulling in guys that are developed and already mature. So I mean, it's hard, but how can I get as close to that while still being 18 or still being in high school? And that's maturing my body. Making sure I'm in elite shape, making sure my work is going to translate to that next level.
You think high school players have more to prove now?
For sure. I think, definitely, it's not the same. It's not the same, obviously. Transfer portal has changed has been a huge, huge, difference. But I think, yes, like it's even more work for us, to go out there and improve ourselves.
Does it motivate you to become more polished?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. How can I get in front of these coaches and, be what they need to be, and that's working. That's just working.
What advice would you give younger players trying to get recruited today?
Um, stay the course, stay committed. Try to get on a circuit or on a team that's going to be playing in front of these coaches, and get you someone that has connections, have a person that's going to send your film out or message coaches. That I feel like that's a big key, just communication.
Leadership at the point guard, man, you got to be a leader. How would your teammates describe you?
I feel like they would describe me as a hard worker, as a leader. You know, um, you know, I feel like they would know that I'm there to win. I'm there to make an impact in winning.
So, how do you handle adversity?
As an athlete, I kind of mentally prepare I feel like you have to mentally prepare yourself to have a bad game here and there. I feel like if you're going into every game, I feel like that is the mindset. You're going into every game like, all right, I'm gonna go and drop 30. I feel like I'm gonna go out there and win. But at the end of the day, you still have to mentally prepare yourself to have a couple bad games here and there. Um, but adversity is there for you to learn. Adversity is there for you to build upon. How's adversity is honestly what makes you a stronger and more polished player.
How do you respond after a bad game?
um I usually resort back to my parents, resort back to film, um, you know, ask everybody, what did they see? What did you see out there on the court? And the film doesn't lie. I go back and watch some film, and it shows me everything that I need to work on. Was I hesitating? Was I not being aggressive coming off this ball screen? And sometimes it just comes down to making shots. Some days it's just not your day. But having that mindset that I'm going to go in there, I'm going to keep shooting, I'm going to keep being aggressive, I'm going to keep impacting, winning, that I like to the best I can. I feel like that's huge when it comes to handling adversity and responding to it.
How important is faith and family?
Oh man, it's huge. Having having faith in general, to the man above is huge. He's always there, always there. Um, but also having amazing people in your corner that you can just rely upon, and always have them to go back to and talk to. It's a blessing, man.
Let's have some fun with some quick hitters. Favorite NBA player?
Favorite NBA player at the moment, Jalen Brunson.
Favorite college player?
Favorite college player, Duke Harris.
Favorite team?
Favorite team, NBA or college?
Either one.
Mm, man, I'll go with the Memphis Grizzlies.
Best player you've played against?
Man, this is tough. Mm, this is hard. This is hard because I've played against a lot of great talent. I can't give you a name. I can't give you a name.
Best defender you faced?
Best defender, probably my sister. Probably my sister. She used to climb in my stuff all the time when we were little. So I got to give that one to her.
Hardest gym to play in?
Hardest gym to play in. I recently transferred to Murfreesboro School. The atmosphere up there is crazy, so I've got to say one of those schools for sure.
Favorite shoe?
Favorite shoe. I'm a Nike guy. but I do like Jordans. I would say Jordan 39 for sure has been my favorite so far.
Favorite pregame meal.
Chicken and rice. Chicken and rice gets me right.
Favorite artist.
Favorite artist. I like me some Lauryn Hill or some Jack Johnson.
Game winning three or game winning assist.
Game winning three.
Mr. Basketball or state champion.
State champion.
Favorite thing about playing for TN Impact.
Favorite thing, being around the guys, having elite coaching, and being able to play at the highest level in basketball.
5 years from now, where do you hope basketball has taken you?
Now I hope it's built a lot of connections for me. I hope it's taken me to the Division 1 level it's taken me and it's grown me into a young man that's going to be able to produce and provide for a family later on down the road.
What legacy do you want to leave at Blackman?
I want to leave a legacy of winning, a legacy of true point guards.
What do you hope people remember most about Miles Alexander?
He's a great guy, great kid. He loves to work and he's humble.
Any message for the Blackman fans?
Man, it's going to be a fun one this year. Just tune in.
What about a message for TN Impact?
Um, it's all love over there. Love you guys.
Any message for college coaches following your recruitment?
I'm the guy. I'm the guy you want to look at. I'm the guy you want to see. If you want a true point guard, then you know where to look at.
Where can everyone follow your journey?
Um, Follow my journey on Instagram, Miles Alexander _11. Twitter, Miles A _28. I think. Um, yeah, man, on my socials.
Miles, I really appreciate you taking the time to join me tonight. Congratulations on everything you've accomplished so far. You're one of the top guards in Tennessee. You're ranked number 7 in the state by Prep Hoops. It's going to be exciting watching the next chapter of yours at Blackman and with Tennessee Impact. Wish you nothing but success this season. Look forward to following your recruitment and hopefully having you back on the show again soon. To everyone watching, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Pure Prospects Podcast. Be sure to subscribe to Pure Prospects on Substack for exclusive recruiting coverage, rankings, evals, our new recruiting masterclass, player interviews, and much more. Follow us on YouTube, Instagram, X, and Facebook. I'm Cody Thomas. We'll see you next time on the Pure Prospects Podcast. Man, thank you so much for coming on, dude.
My guy, I appreciate you big time, man.
Yes, sir. It was a great interview. You did great.